Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is AshQuest, and don't go hollow on me now. Today, we're going to take a look at Dark Souls, the board game, the painted world of Ariamis. This is a core set, an offering from Steamforged Games, which is intended for 1 to 3 players ages 14 and up, and a play session can take anywhere from 2 to 2.5 hours. The beautiful Crossbreed Priscilla is illustrated on the front of the box, and I can think of no finer reason to own this. This is based on FromSoft's seminal Dark Souls game, a game that literally began the Souls-like genre, if you don't go farther back and count offerings like Kingsfield and Shadow Tower. And this isn't meant to be the end-all be-all of the Dark Souls board game experience. Rather, this is a core set. There are several of them, and there are also expansions that are basically mix and match with these different core sets. This particular core set does not represent the beginning of the Dark Souls game, but rather the entirety of the Painted World section of Dark Souls 1. As the box tells it, trapped in the icy depths of a painted snowscape, the wretched souls loathed by gods and forsaken by the world have claimed their cage as sanctuary. This is the painted world of Ariamis, where a being both dragon and human holds sway. Priscilla the Crossbreed. What secrets and magic does the half-dragon keep? Be cautious as you traverse her frozen domain, for an entity feared by gods must be powerful indeed. We see that this is going to come with 27 unique encounters and everything needed to play. 1 mercenary, 1 sorcerer, and 1 deprived. The Heavy Knight and Crossbreed Priscilla with 80mm base size being something that Steamforged Games is very fond of. They've always had unlimited funds for plastic, I tell you. The Phalanx Hollow, the Phalanx, the Snow Rat, the Engorged Zombie, the Bone Wheel Skeleton, one of my favorite enemies of all time, and the Crow Demon. Painted World of Ariamis is a cooperative board game for 1 to 3 players. Take control of either the mercenary, sorcerer, or deprived as you progress through several chilling and inhospitable encounters, culminating in an epic boss battle against Crossbreed Priscilla herself. To be successful, you must work together, explore areas long devoid of all warmth, and defeat your enemies by learning their attack patterns and weaknesses, but be careful. If a character dies, the game doesn't end, but there will be a cost. If even one of you falls prey to bitter cold steel, the whole party must return to the bonfire, and each encounter resets. Use your resources sparingly, learn quickly, and prepare to die. If you're living in the timeline where you don't know what Dark Souls is, it is basically a video game that is very difficult, but it is very in-depth in terms of character customization. Basically, every single build in the game, even no build, is viable enough to get through the entire game. That, of course, is a challenge run scenario. You don't just not have a build and go through Dark Souls. You really want to not die 1,000 times, but people do it. It is also the precursor to later masterpieces such as Bloodborne, Elden Ring, and Sekiro, to name a few. Demon's Souls is also a wonderful game. Here we have the double-sided boards. There are no grids to speak of. There are, however, nodes, and some of these nodes have symbols on them, but all of them are colored to indicate different statuses for our heroes and enemies. These all depict locations that take place in the painted world of Ariamis. Specifically, there is a castle situated atop a cliff, besieged by snow and ice and all manner of terrifying creatures, which we will get to very shortly. We have the character boards for the deprived, the mercenary, and also the sorcerer. And as you can see, the character boards themselves have punch-outs. These particular chits do not come out. Rather, when you level up, you are supposed to punch this out, flip it over, and push it back in, because now your new value on your tier 1 is going to change and be 14 instead of... Wait, hold on. The back ones are gold, but they're the actual same numbers, so I read that wrong. The flipping over will turn it gold, indicating that you do have access to that stat now. So when you level up your strength and go from 7 to 14, you'll flip this over and this will be gold. And at a glance, you'll know that your strength is 14, while your dexterity remains 12, intelligence 16, faith 7, and so on. And if this is anything like the video game, you should be able to level up into any of these stats in any order you wish. So it'll be up to you to decide. Once you are at tier 1 in strength, for example, do I want to level up and use all of my souls to get to tier 2 in strength, thereby increasing my strength by 8 points, or do I want to increase my dexterity by 6 points and be able to wield more weapons or roll on different stats? Now, I use those terms, but I don't know if that's what we're really doing here. We've got all manner of character boards accessible, but I need to keep exploring, and we do have sections for armor, left hand, right hand, backup, and we've got 4 different tokens next to our character's portrait, as well as the number 5. The deprived, by contrast, has 1, while the mercenary has 7. We've got soul tokens on these boards. We've got what look to be poison tokens, frost. I'm not sure what these are. Larger soul tokens. Trackers, it seems, for different enemies. The heart next to the number on this wheel indicates to me that that's the hit points for this monster. The Heavy Knight, Crossbreed Priscilla, having 40, the Heavy Knight having 25, and this thing, which is evidently just called Sparks, having 5. We've got some tombstones, some treasure chests, some skulls, some barrels, more skulls, and that's pretty much it on the other side of the tokens as well. We have the silhouette or faint outline of Crossbreed Priscilla, and I have a feeling that has to do with the snow, or disappearing rather, mechanic in her fight in the video game. She'll walk around for a bit, getting ready to attack you with a pretty devastating attack, but you can see her footsteps. You need to be fast, anticipate where she's going to be, and attack that spot. We've also got a track that folds out into not 1, but 2 additional sections. Looks like we've got soul symbols, more souls, yet more souls, places for cards to be placed, number of tracks, and whatever this means. Perhaps these are the scenarios you fight through, and then just the bosses that you'll fight after each encounter. I'm not sure, but the opposite side is blank. Things like this make me wonder, did they really have to go with something this size? Certainly there has to be a utility for having something that's this big, like maybe the cards get placed on these symbols, I don't know yet. We can see the Firekeeper as well as Andre the Blacksmith in the artwork. They very much look like Dark Souls 3 versions, these characters. And then it's on to the cards and minis. We'll take a look at some of the minis, then the cards, whatever else might come into the box, and then the rest of the minis. We've got a lovely color for our hero miniatures, our Lord Sworn vessels who are journeying the land trying to take the Lord Souls in order to then take the Dark Soul. That was our mercenary. Here is our deprived, the character who is basically very evenly statted in all Dark Souls games, but is one of the most challenging to start out with, although the most flexible in terms of where you could go with him. Then we have the Sorcerer, complete with Buckler and Sorcerer Catalyst. These are well-detailed minis. I like them. They will fit the 1-inch grid standard of any typical board. No problems there. We've got our giant rats up next, and these are pretty cool sculpts. I kind of like the mohawk going on with this giant rat. Hero for scale. Round bases. Our phalanx consists of these weird blobs of organic matter with people, it seems, that have been absorbed into them. Or perhaps these blobs are trying to mimic people, and they're not doing a great job of it. But they've got the utility down. These will attack you behind bucklers, such as the phalanx of Roman soldiers will, if you're in the universe of 300. And if you're playing on a grid, tile encroachment would be a thing, but you could be pretty creative and still make some cool scenes. Like this looks like a really, really cool scene, actually. Even from one tile away, that looks really dramatic and neat. You know what? Out of all the versions of candy trays out there meant to hold your minis in place, I like this version. This abstract shape version, the matte finish, it looks kind of glossy, but I have a lot of lights on in here. This is a lot more matte than most of the candy trays I've seen. The vague outlines that tell you where your minis go, and when you put your mini in, it just falls into place. It's not like there's a bunch of indents of musculature you've got to work your way through. I vastly prefer it. This is the only tray left in this game box, and I have to say, I would be absolutely dismayed if I had bought this game at full price. And I'm going to rant a little bit about Steamforged Games while I unbox the rest of this. Steamforged have high-priced offerings. They hide it behind walls of exclusivity and sales on their website, stuff that you're never going to see out in the wild again, except through special events. But the thing is, they're very often available on Steamforged's website, and various stores if it's going to be a retail release, like Dark Souls is. And there are a lot of boxes to Dark Souls. There are a lot of core games and expansions, pretty much covering the entirety of the world of the first Dark Souls game. For some reason, I want to say that there is some representation of Dark Souls 2 as well. I'm not remembering at the moment. There's everything from these boxes of base games and expansions to even like character packs and bonfires and additional packages of invaders and phantoms to pretty much spice up your experience no matter which of the other boxes you're playing. And I like that. I like the interconnected universe of here are your options if you want to start out, here are your options if you want to expand, here are some options if you want to affect how your game is played no matter which way you go. That's a great business model in my opinion. I don't know how successful it is, so really I shouldn't be talking on that point. But my issue with Steamforged is they charge so much, and I have a feeling it's because of license deals, because all of their stuff is basically licensed out. Not everything, but almost everything. Let's go on to look at some of these treasure cards. We have an entire deck here. Whoop, looks like we also have some cards for the Mercenary, the Deprived, and the Sorcerer. I'm gonna guess these are starting gear cards. I guess I can appreciate the simplicity of the back and how all the card backs look the same. Event cards. The Sorcerer's Catalyst, the Sorcerer Robes, the Leather Shield, and the Mail Breaker. That's all of our Sorcerer stuff. The Mercenary but gets Sellsword Armor, a Wooden Shield, and the Sellsword Twin Blade, while the Deprived but gets a Loincloth, a Club, and a Plank Shield. Starting out with the Humble Club, the range of the action or attack options on the card, the minimum stat requirements a character must meet before they can equip the card. Anybody can equip a club, in other words here. The attack options a character can perform if this card is equipped, the equipment's name and the card's type, the equipment slot the card goes in on a character's dashboard, which set of Dark Souls the board game the card is from, in this case the Painted World of Ariamis, the equipment's block value, the equipment's resist value, the equipment's dodge value, and the number of upgrade slots the equipment has. To contrast, let's compare with the Silver Knight Straight Sword. You're going to need values of 20 to wield this in pretty much every stat, but you've got different attack options, and this card has 2 upgrade slots as well as a dodge value actually. Other treasure cards include the Lightning Gem for upgrades, the Crystal Straight Sword, the Warden Twin Blades, the Crest Shield, the Black Leather Armor, the Torch, and so on and so on and so on. There's some items in here that actually let you do a couple of different mechanics. Just follow the text on the card. You've got the Worker Armor, the Court Sorcerer Robes, the East-West Shield. It goes on like that. Let's take a look at the event cards. Oh, but not before I point out that this has the Moonlight Greatsword in it, which is a sword that has made its way into every single Dark Souls or FromSoft rather game to this day. You need some heftier stats in some areas to wield it, and it's two-handed, but you have a lot of attack options, 2 upgrade slots, and actually some block value. Indeed, it seems these are cards that you get in reward for defeating these particular enemies. Not the Moonlight Greatsword, but these guys. You'll get a Greatsword, a Tower Shield, and Steel Armor, and for beating Priscilla, you'll get Priscilla's Dagger as well as the Life Hunt Scythe. As for event cards, we have the Firekeeper's Boon. Choose a character. That character can upgrade a stat without spending souls. There are a couple of those. Then Life Gem. During the next encounter, this character heals 1 damage at the start of each of their turns. At the end of the next encounter, discard this card. The Scrying Stone, the Green Blossom, the Stolen Artifact, and so on and so forth. I think SFG tend to overcharge for their products, and I think that this is pretty much established. And the reason that I'm pretty firm on this probably brutal point is that there's really not enough in here for the MSRP of this game. Sure, $20 to Bob isn't the same as $20 to Peter. They might have vastly different circumstances, different hobbies, different justifications for spending money, and they're both in their right and very valid on what they want to spend their money on. But this game frequently will go on sale, and Steamforged Games will put the sale up themselves. It won't just be, a third party. SFG will literally run deep discount sales on their own website. That's how I got Bard Sung for $50, and I would say never ever pay more than $50 for Bard Sung. Just wait for a sale. And this makes it to where eventually that's what the game is worth, even though the MSRP could say something like $120 in the case of Dark Souls. It's much better to wait for a sale and just grab it for $25 from Steamforged Games. And that's what I paid for this game, about $24, $25. And at $25, I've robbed them. It's more than a steal. I don't know how fun of a steal it will be, but a steal nonetheless. The game comes with a ton of combat dice. You can see that they are different in color. Different colors have different strengths of sword pips. Some of these faces are blank. Other faces have 1, 2, or 3 swords. Players win a game of Dark Souls Painted World of Ariamis if Crossbreed Priscilla is killed. In order to reach Crossbreed Priscilla, players will need to complete several encounters as they explore her lair. This will not be easy, however. Powerful and deadly enemies lurk inside the painting, waiting to repel any intruders from their realm. If the party is defeated during an encounter, all is not lost. The players return their characters to the bonfire and can try again. However, the players cannot do this indefinitely. Each time they return to the bonfire, they'll use up a spark. If the spark dial has reached 0 and the players return to the bonfire, they lose the game. The fire has burned too low and they are forever lost to the darkness. Next up, we can look at the encounter cards, but I want to look at some more of these miniatures first. Check out the engorged zombie. As you might be able to imagine, this guy will rush you, and if you attack him especially, he'll stop, he'll start wobbling around, and that's your cue to get away from him because he's about to explode. There's the face. There's this very deadite coated, I have to say. Call Ash. Not me. The guy with the chainsaw. Here's our Demon Raven up next. These guys look so cool, but man, they were scary when they came down. Every enemy in Dark Souls was scary. What am I saying? They were constantly jumping out at me, teaching me to play. The bone wheel skeletons are just some of my favorite enemies across the whole Dark Souls series. I really love their design. For some reason, I thought the wheel to which they were attached was also made of bones, but I guess that's not the case. Or maybe it's a Dark Souls 3 convention. It might be in Dark Souls 2 as well, but I haven't played 2 as of the time of this recording, at least not beyond the first few zones. This is one of the bosses in the game. This is our Banished Knight, and I forgot what he's actually called. He's not really a boss in the video game. He's just somebody who's in your way. You can get him out of your way pretty easily. Roll, attack. When he rears up his sword, roll back. Look at the dents on that sword, the nicks and notches. What a great detail. This guy's massive. This 80mm base means he's going to take up 2x2 tiles in a conventional board game setting, and he's very tall. We'll save Priscilla for just a little bit later. We're going to look at the enemy cards now and try to anatomize them. Don't care if that's a word. We make words on this channel. We set the trend. We lead the pack. If you're not a leader, you're a follower. This is the type of enemy. This is the enemy's threat level. 10 is very high. This is the enemy's starting health. 25 is very high. This is a boss, after all. Let's check out a different enemy. We'll go to the Snow Rat instead, who kind of looks like a juggalo. This is the enemy icon for this enemy, the enemy's attack range, the enemy's block and resist values, respectively, the enemy's dodge difficulty, and I noticed that is the symbol on our green dice, the enemy's behavior symbols. All of these are the behavior symbols, and which set of Dark Souls the board game the enemy is from. It goes on like this with the Bone Wheel Skeleton, the Engorged Zombie, the Crow Demon, the Phalanx, and the other almost non-existent monsters that the game comes with. But we have several cards for Priscilla as well as our Heavy Knight, being that they have multiple movesets. So in this way, the game plays a little bit like Elden Ring, or at least the combat philosophy is kind of similar. An enemy movement symbol indicates the enemy performs a move. Various smaller symbols appear around the symbol, indicating how to resolve the movement. The character with the aggro token, in this case, would be the target. If this was a circle, the closest character would be the target. Learning to read the combat section of an enemy's card is crucial to understanding the combat of the game. I haven't, and won't yet, so we don't understand anything. These are encounter cards, and they are the last thing we're going to look at before we check out Priscilla. These provide all the necessary information to set up an encounter. I count 29 of these, so we have 29 encounters, which some of those are boss battles. Again, you'll get which encounter it is, which set it's from, the encounter's objective, kill all enemies, the encounter's rewards, 2 souls, and search for the Painting Guardian armor, the special rules, Snowstorm, the enemies that appeared in the encounter and the nodes they are placed on during setup, the terrain that appears in the encounter, and the nodes it is placed on during setup, and the encounter's map. Each encounter is different, providing the players with a wide variety of challenges to overcome. The turn order in this game is unlike any other that I have seen. During an enemy turn, all enemies take a turn, as per expected. But during a character turn, only a single character takes a turn, so the characters will decide, rather the players will choose which character is going to take the first turn, then it will be the enemy's turn. All the enemies will take a turn. The character turn is next, where the mercenary might take a turn, but then it's all the enemies again. Then the sorcerer might go, then all enemies, then the deprived, then again all enemies. The This is an example turn order, but it gets the point home. And finally, we will look at Crossbreed Priscilla. She is one of the most beautiful models in Dark Souls, the video game. Her board game counterpart, I'm not sure could ever do her justice. It doesn't do a bad job, but the details are really going to be in her face and how soft and feathery they can get her to look while maintaining the dangerous aura that she is in the video game. It is not required to kill Priscilla in Dark Souls. In fact, she offers you the choice to just leave when you get to her. And if you walk past her and jump off of the cliff, you will leave the painted world going back to Anor Londo, in which the painting of the world is hung. Attacking Priscilla means that she will now encircle the arena in a boss battle wall. I don't think you can just run away at any point after that. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've played Dark Souls, and I was very, very happy to finish it. I'm gonna give this a 7.5 out of 10, probably closer to 8 than 7. I do think they could have done better. I think if they did the sculpt now, they would do much better versus, I mean, just look at the Elden Ring sculpts. They are almost one-to-one with their video game counterparts. I'm not sure why this couldn't happen here, other than the fact that it was probably a much lower poly count for the sculpt if they were converting the sculpts into files that could just be 3D printed, or rather CAD drawn into software where they could make the sculpts into the mold. I'm rambling. I'm not sure about this game's fun factor. It's something that I definitely want to try. It's something that I want to learn enough to play so that I can make a fair and reasonable judgment about whether or not I even want to keep it. As a Souls fan, and maybe not mega fan, but still big fan, having completed Dark Souls 3 and absolutely loving that game, I want to play Dark Souls 3 right now. But I don't have a lot of content for Dark Souls 3. In fact, there's almost none. It's just about non-existent. We get some nods to the content in the Dark Souls card game, and here and there you might see references to Dark Souls 3's characters across different physical media, but most of that is because there are recurring characters or returning characters between Dark Souls 1 and 3, with 2 sharing a little bit of that overlap as well. 2 is kind of the odd one out in all of this, as per usual. Sorry, 2. But you'll have to let me know what you think. Have you played Dark Souls, the Painted World of Ariamis? And are you currently trying to play the new release of Dark Souls, the Sunless City? Because that game addresses a lot of the complaints that the community had about the mechanics of Dark Souls overall, and should be a much better rule set to bring back to the core games like the Painted World of Ariamis. I'm very curious about that as well, so I won't pass complete total judgment on this based on the included rule set in and of itself. I would like to learn it, then I would like to go on to the Sunless City and see if I like those rules better. And I can do that because I have the Sunless City, and we'll be checking that game out soon. So thank you, brave heroes. I hope you didn't go hollow during this explanation, overview, and presentation. I hope that you were able to exchange a few souls for the intelligence stat, perhaps the wisdom stat. I don't think there's a wisdom stat. Is it arcane? It's been too long. That would be fair. The arcane stat would be fair, though. I will see you in the next exciting painted world. Until then.
Pretty be careful. I don't want to see my work squandered.